speakers. I'm Busted, and these are the speakers.
I'm speaker 1.
And I'm speaker 2.
Yeah, I'm Cam. That's Alex and Ed.
Yep.
Hello.
Yep, and today we are answering the question, what is the best track on Clarity by Jimmy Eat World? Clarity was the band's third album, released in 1999. It was their second album on a major label, and it actually underperformed and got the band dropped from their label Capitol Records.
Oh, damn.
But I think it kind of has a similar history to Pinkerton, except without some of the negative backlash that Pinkerton has, where it kind of gained more popularity as the band was finding their footing afterward. I don't think Weezer got dropped by their label, but
I don't believe so. They might have changed labels in the interim anyway, but I don't think they were dropped.
Yeah, and Pinkerton opened a whole can of worms by itself. I'm sure that doesn't apply to this album, considering the content.
Just a similar kind of story where they gained cult followings in the years after their release, and then, I don't think, maybe not to the same degree for the two bands, but it's just a similar, it's just a weird coincidence, in my opinion.
And it's interesting that was back in a time when sales were so dependent on whether you were dropped from a label, they could matter that much, even when the material was good and you were probably getting the actual fan base needed to sustain a career.
Yep, so this has been one of my favorite albums for longer than I can remember at this point, at least since high school, I think, along with their 2005 album Futures. And honestly, this one was even hard for me to right now pick a favorite, just because so many of these songs just stand out among my music collection, so I'm really curious.
I think you told me, when I asked if you had a pick in mind, you said, I can't, they're all my babies.
Yeah. Yep. So, finally had to kill all my darlings except for one.
Yeah.
So, I am curious to know what you guys thought of this album, because, Alex and I reviewed their 10th album, Surviving, toward the end of last year, and then Ed has never heard a Jimmy Eat World album before now, correct?
That's true, yep.
So, I'm wondering what you guys thought of this one, both with some context and with no context, and then what tracks you settled on. So, let's start with Ed. What do you think?
Ooh, pressure. Yeah, listening to this album a few weeks back was my first experience with Jimmy Eat World, despite having been aware of them for many years, and I really don't have any good reason for that. But I'm really glad you suggested it, Cam, because this is clearly a flagship release in late 90s Midwest emo and alt-rock in general, and I really, really enjoy it. It's also incredibly consistent. Speaking to what you just said, people could maybe make the assumption that, you saying all the tracks are your babies could be informed by nostalgia. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think the fact that I had no context coming into this, having not grown up with them or anything like that, I honestly feel the same way. This is such a consistent album. It was so difficult to pick a track. It's the most difficulty I've had on this series so far. Yeah, the first track that really hooked me was actually the opener, Table for Glasses, which has an interesting meditation on the process of applying meaning to art that has no clear or direct explanation, which definitely appealed to me as a David Lynch fan.
Yeah.
And while that song didn't end up being my track pick, I feel the need to mention it because it did prepare me for the lyrical approach that I'm assuming Jim Adkins is the sole songwriter here in terms of lyrics, right?
I'm not entirely sure who does the lyrics, at least back in these days.
Yeah, I tried looking into it, and there's not really a whole lot of information out there. They seem quite elusive, especially on, explaining their songs. There's nothing really concrete on, Genius or anything. It just seems to be fan interpretations as far as I can see. And I like that because I think the songs here are very well written, and you can apply meaning to them without having your hand held. But yeah, you got other tracks like the lead single, Lucky Denver Mint, with that great You're Not Bigger Than This, When Can You Learn hook. I loved that. Thought that would honestly be my pick for a while. It's not the only anthemic chorus on the album that stuck with me from listen one, though. You've also got tracks like Believe in What You Want, fitting that description, and a bunch of others. While I'll definitely take some tracks over others, I don't think there's a single song here that I don't think is at least good. So, yeah, long story short, this was really difficult for me. Not just because I had to familiarize myself with an entirely new band to me, but also because of the purposefully indirect nature of the songwriting as established in that opening track, and just the sheer amount of highlights. But finally, I can say with certainty, after listening to this album maybe 4 or 5 times now, I just had to give it to Just Watch the Fireworks. From what I understand, that's kind of an obvious answer, but it's just so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, Blister and the title track came really close, as did Lucky Denvermint and Table for Glasses, as I mentioned. But I feel like if I were to do a strict bullet-pointed list of all the things I like about these songs, Just Watch the Fireworks would have the longest one, even relatively speaking, considering its longer length. It's 7 minutes long. But despite being 7 minutes, I think it's actually one of the more simple and repetitive songs on the album, but it's all the better for it, because the progression is quite lovely. While the chorus is repeated a lot over the course of its 7 minutes, as well as its bridge, it's always complemented by some new, subtle, engaging element with each new repeat of one of those sections, whether that's the wistful melodic strings or the more ferocious guitar riffs that come in on the later bridges. The bass also punctuates the closing moments of the song really nicely. To summarize, I think the biggest testament to this track's quality is that despite the repetition, it manages to end up feeling much shorter than it actually is, I think. And the whole thing honestly made me check myself a bit, because I've always kind of been of the opinion that length needs to be justified with an extra level of complexity. But this is a simpler song than a lot of the tracks here, as I said, that are half its length. And yet there's never any point where it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere in spite of that. Maybe the production plays a big part in that. The production across the whole album is great. I love the guitar tones on here. There's a lot of cool little additional instrumentation that's nice. Maybe it's the subtle additions that come in with each part of the song structure. Maybe it's just the sheer passion of it all. I don't have much to say about like a lyrical interpretation, because again, it's quite vague, purposefully so. But all in all, it's definitely the keeper for me if I were to pick a single track.
All right. And Alex?
So we did cover their last album, Surviving, on the channel last year, which I liked quite a lot. So I was definitely prepared for knowing that this would be quite different from that. And I do quite like the album Futures as well, which I just randomly picked up in a charity shop a few years ago.
Always a blessed experience, that.
It is blessed when you just find one. And you think, I would never think I'd find this in a, just general purpose charity shop.
I'm assuming it was a quid or two as well.
Really cheap, and helps a charity, obviously, which is good. So, yeah, I was somewhat familiar with them. But even Futures, which is only 2 albums over, is quite different from this one. That's definitely a bit more hi-fi than this one. This one's a little bit more lo-fi, even though not to say the production's bad. For me, I'm sorry, I just have to go with probably the most obvious one, Lucky Denvermint, to be honest. I know I wanted to have some cool album track. I wanted to have some unknown, like, to most people track. I've listened to this at least, 6 times. And no matter what, even though I love songs like A Sunday, for some reason I quite liked all the lighter songs more than the rockers. Like A Sunday, and I think the second closest for me was actually 23rd of December 95.
Oh yeah.
As second closest, just because it evokes such a hazy, dreamlike atmosphere of a day. Like, that feels like nostalgia in a song to me, which is, I've never heard many songs that do that. I mean, the whole album is good, but Lucky Denvermint, as soon as I hear that drum intro, I'm like, this is like one of the best songs of the late 90s, full stop. The hook that Ed mentioned earlier, you're not bigger than this, not better, why can't you learn? I was thinking the whole time, like, that is an amazing chorus, but there's clearly a meaning lyrically there that is, like, beyond just serving as a good chorus.
Oh yeah.
So I looked into it a little bit, and apparently it's recounting a day. I think, like Ed said, I don't really know who writes the lyrics. I'm guessing it could just be Jim Atkins. Just a day when they were really young, and the narrator or songwriter's friend gambled away money, and it's like they were just wandering around lost in a town. I think they were in Vegas. I don't know. I don't know the full story of behind the song lyrically at all, but like that adds a lot more to like the evocative, like powerful emotion of the song. I don't know if you know much more of the origin lyrically here, Cam.
No, I never actually looked into it.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is. I said from an interview or something, but just wandering around lost, and like that could be stemmed from an argument they had. I don't know, but this song, intense energy, just layering of different elements. It's messy in a good way. It's loud. It's just an awesome song at the end of the day. And there's a lot of awesome songs on here. There's a lot of emotionally resonant songs on here. There's a lot of just great Midwest emo alternative songs on here. I was almost thinking I'd choose Goodbye Sky Harbor just because it's like 8 minutes. I thought when I saw 16 minutes long it would have like a hidden track.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like what I thought it was, but it was like a sustained. I don't even know like how they managed that. It feels like looped over, but they like sustain this like low mood energy, like beautiful harmonic guitar intertwining thing in the middle of it, and it's just amazing.
That one's definitely a lot more ambitious than the other long track here, which was my favorite.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it over my pick because I think in the outro the mixing just gets so messy that it's kind of painful to listen to at times. I don't know if you guys felt that.
I mean, if I ever did feel that, I've gotten used to it over the years.
I'm sure. Like, I really like the song. Like I said, there's not a single bad or even mediocre song on here. Like, I really like that song, and I really like the structure of it and the composition. It's literally just the mixing. It all smudges a bit at the end, and
I think by that point I'm not drawn in with it. Like, I'm already like lost in the song. It didn't really bother me that much.
Still manages to invoke that feeling for sure.
I know I'd be better if I had a really cool obscure track. I wanted it to be that, but I can't just lie to myself and choose Believe in What You Want or another one. Like...
You normie, Alex. You absolute normie.
Yeah, normie.
I'm just kidding.
I actually knew you'd say that exact thing.
Oh, come on. Do you really think of me that badly?
Nah.
He put it on a card and put that card in this envelope, which he mailed to me 3 weeks ago. No.
I'm just wondering real quick, what did you think of Just Watch the Fireworks, Alex? Because you mentioned you prefer like the lighter songs on here to the more rocky ones. I think that song kind of encapsulates both of those moods, if you get me.
Yeah, that's definitely is in the top 5, I guess. Well, I've already kind of said the 5. Yeah, it's like it is simple, but it does add stuff, like especially with that orchestral like part sort of in the middle.
I think it's the most outwardly like emotive song, and I'm just a sucker for that in this particular style of music. I'm very easily swayed in that way.
I had a feeling it would at least be one of your guys' pick.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of appeal there. It's just I keep getting drawn to, I guess, I know I said I like the lighter songs, but I guess it's an outlier in Lucky Denver Mint just knocking me out as just a great, pretty much alternative rock song.
Yeah. It's just such an essential lead single. I'm right in saying it was the lead single. Yeah, I believe so.
I think so, yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's my pick, Kim.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I gotta say, you guys are making me real happy here with all the, comments about all the songs, and I just, appreciate what a tough decision that this was. And I'm glad that you guys were up for the challenge.
It's a good kind of tough, though, It's just because it's so consistent, so good.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with anything that you guys have said, really, aside from, maybe the mixing on Goodbye Sky Harbor, but, again, that could just be because I've heard this album for over 10 years now.
I should specify as well that I just mean that about, the very end of that song, before the drum machines come in. It just starts to smudge for me. I think everything up until that point is pretty much consistent to the quality of the rest of the album.
I don't even know where to take this from here. I could, like, just, go on and say, like, yes, I agree with this about this song and this about this song. But I also don't see the point in beating around the bush. I was kind of hoping that, you guys would agree on a song so that I could just say, yep, that's absolutely my pick too. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're out of here. But
Is that not the case?
well, it's the case with one of you. I also picked Just Watch the Fireworks.
Oh, okay.
I win, Alex. Fuck you.
Yeah, this is not my week. Fuck me.
Hey, this is a family-friendly, adult-oriented YouTube channel.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I got us demonetized. You can bleep it out if you're willing to make that effort.
I don't know how.
Ed, you really, you stole my thunder here. You really just nailed everything that can possibly be said about that song. I agree with what you were saying. I just love... To me, the album kind of covers the whole ground between, abstract yet evocative and concrete, because, A Sunday is obviously about, somebody trying to get over a drug addiction.
Yeah.
I don't know if this came through, but, I've picked up on and learned over the years that Your New Aesthetic is just about, the struggles of being in a band.
I think I got that from listening to it a few times. Maybe not right away.
It's easier to tell on an older demo that I don't really expect anyone to know. You've got the nostalgia of 12/23/95. Other songs just are, more just about abstract and the mood that the lyrics evoke, Table for Glasses, which, Genius recounts the origin of that song and how it kind of influenced the rest of the album, and even how it influences, other songs in their canon.
It's very crucially the opener.
I can't imagine anything else being the opener on this one. I just can't talk about it enough because I'm not articulate, but I also can't talk about it enough because I just love it so much.
It's just that I feel like the way you're talking about it is as if it's one of those songs that has meant a lot to you for so long that it is part of you at this point.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah.
It's like trying to say, what does my right arm mean to me,
What does my son mean to me?
Yeah. It's an arm, it's my child. What do you want me to do about what do you want me to say?
It's everything.
And I think Just Watch the Fireworks in particular summarizes the band's philosophy of being optimistic but also realistic, just bridging that gap between hoping everything's going to be okay but still being scared.
Very well put.
That's also my favorite thing about Futures, which is a very more, politically inclined album than this, which is, it still has a bit of the, youthful optimism that you might expect from third wave emo.
I think you definitely really like that album, Ed.
Yeah, I'll probably make sure that's the next one I check out, but I'm going to get a lot of mileage out of this album. It wasn't a chore at all to re-listen to. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a chore to do this, even with albums I like, but it's a testament to how much I liked it that I was just happy to stick this on whenever and, try and solve the puzzle of what is the best track on it for me.
That's what it's become.
Yeah,
it's become a challenge, a puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to get the answer.
It's true. It's very true.
Well, I lose this week.
It's not about who wins or loses.
That's true, yep.
It's about having fun and finding great music to share with each other.
I'm just waiting for the day where we have an episode where we all have the same track pick, and then we can basically treat it as this is the best track on an album.
We can retitle it as X is the best track on Y album.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, then. So we've come to 2/3 of a consensus on the best track on Clarity. So thanks for tuning in to Busted Speakers, everybody. If you like this video, leave us a like. You can subscribe if you want to see more of our album reviews and more discussions of what's the best track on various albums. You can follow us on Twitter @_BustedSpeakers. You can follow me on Twitter @SubProspector. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.